am Nurten Tuncer.
I am İkbal Zeynep Dursunoğlu.
I am Fatma Oral.
And my name is Büşra Nur Söylemez.
I'm Aycan, and I'm going to present to you the research that I've done with 4 of my friends who just introduced themselves. Our topic is perception of urban transformation subject candidates in Tozkoparan case. The presentation will be composed of 5 parts. I will start with the introduction, then move on to literature, methodology, findings, and lastly the conclusion. Our research question is, what are the causes of the difference between people who see the forthcoming urban transformation as favorable and those who tend to be more suspicious in Tozkoparan case? We are interested in this topic because UTPs are widely executed lately and they are of utmost importance for inhabitants of deprived areas in big and metropolitan cities. Inhabitants' own perceptions are very significant since they will be affected mostly. While we were doing our research on the literature, we've seen that there are many scholars who expatiated on UTPs. Focusing on the physical space, Hillman talks about the positive consequences of UTP in Genoa case. He is underlining the economic, industrial, and social aspect of the situation. For him, it is about landscapes being reinvented. On the other hand, Ataö and Osmay said these UTPs were limited to physical change until 2000s, and they criticized this severely, this type of transformation, and said physical change doesn't mean much on its own when it doesn't touch upon the social and economic dynamics of the society as well. In different cases they had studies, Dinçer, Alnıaçık, and Kuşçuoğlu concluded that these processes resulted in the solution of the places in economic, social, and cultural means. Our first 3 writers I've just mentioned, namely Ataö, Osmay, and Hillman, argued that the negative consequences were due to the lack of sensitivity. While some other scholars in the area attributed the shortcomings of the UTPs to neoliberal policies that are pursued by the project makers. Poor settlers of the transformed zones are being displaced. They then suffer from adaptation problems, have difficulties in getting used to the places they move to. Moving on to resistance question, Deniz, Alnıaçık, and Karslıoğlu said social solidarity which helped people to overcome the difficulties of daily life also united them to resist. In addition, Karslıoğlu included another factor that gathered people to raise their voices, which was distrust towards the state. Kuyucu and Ünsal, for Kuyucu and Ünsal, implementation of UTP as a neoliberal market-making tool culminated in the resistance movement. Process of property transfer mobilized the inhabitants. Just to give you a brief idea about our methods, we used semi-structure and face-to-face interviews. We had only time from April to May to go to the field, make observations, and we conducted 5 interviews. Before moving to our findings, I want to give you an idea about what kind of a region Tozkoparan is. Located in the European continent of our city, it is very close to the center. Tozkoparan is a very distinct place owing it to have so many green yards, although it is placed in the middle of the city. The UTP has not started to be executed there yet. Everything is on the air. People are not aware of what will happen and when will it start to happen. What they want is everything to be determined, whatever it will be. Since Tozkoparan is such a compact, village-like neighborhood, the relationship between people are so strong. They know one another very well, and they do not want this relationship to finish as a result of the project. One of our interviewees said that the neighborhood consciousness is so tight here. People are so close to each other. When people from outside come, this bond will be loosened. Another worry of the inhabitants was about future payments, which they have to make after moving newly constructed buildings. Since the people of the region are coming from low to middle income families or retirees who have narrow monthly income, it is troublesome for them to make such payments while they can hardly make ends meet. The person we conducted our first interview with said that, "But we are retirees and we do not have such a budget. We cannot pay if the gap is too high. Most of the people here are from lower classes." We have also seen that the previous UTP affected some people very profoundly, while some do not have wide information about earlier examples. One of our respondents told us that, for instance, people moved from Sulukule are coming here and warning us, "Look, they deceived us like this, do not buy it." Moving on to the importance of green yards. Our first interviewee said, "Here, I say it, is a place that we cannot find anywhere else, as if it is a holiday village. We see the other examples, all of them are armor concrete." I think this summarizes the point pretty well. Even though one expects to see people having great reservations about living in a place surrounded by skyscrapers and magnificently luxurious buildings, some embrace the idea very fervently. One of our interviewees said that all the public and house owners are waiting for this. For instance, Beylikdüzü. It makes the impression of a remote place. However, there are lots of affluent buildings, business centers and residences. Isn't it good to have the similar conditions? Lastly, the conclusion. Putting the bad effects aside, the common view among the 5 people we interviewed with was that Tozkoparan is in need of a renewal project. Of course, people are aware of the negative consequences UTP might bring with it, which I mentioned in great detail in previous sections. And most of the people had red lines. Future payments are making them so uptight, and the outrageously expensive costs are unacceptable for them. The green yards doesn't have any comparison, and they don't feel comfortable about sacrificing it. On the other hand, for a few, compare with the benefits, costs are just a drop in the bucket, hence waiting for the project to happen passionately. In contrast to the literature, we saw that the property structure did not determine the person's view to the project in our 5 interviews. Instead of that, the economic situation of people and the strength of neighborhood ties have impact on the inhabitants' perceptions. Although most of the settlers are owners of their houses, they do not belong to upper classes. Therefore, they have hopes as well as fears. For the future research that can be conducted in the field, for the time being, we could only conduct 5 interviews, but of course increasing the number of these interviews will make the study more representative, and spending more time in the region will make it easier for residents to get to know you and open up to you. Future research can be done on the impact of emotional ties and economic considerations, since all of our 5 interviewees emphasized the importance of these 2 dimensions. Thank you for listening.